Thank you for tuning into the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today I'm going to give you just a glimpse into 2019's crazy weather. Violent changes in the atmosphere associated with extreme weather phenomena caused some of the deadliest disasters this year. In 2019, several disasters affected the planet, from historical cities experiencing record flood levels to earthquakes and hurricanes leaving countless people without shelter. Here are the top weather headlines for 2019. Starting the year with a polar vortex that hit the Midwest and Northeast. Extreme cold in the Midwest broke numerous daily records and a few all-time records. For some, in the upper Midwest, it was the coldest outbreak since the 1990s. In Natchez, Mississippi, the river has been flooded since mid-February and was in flood stage for most of the year. Dating back to late February, about 550,000 acres of land have been underwater in the rural Yazoo backwater area of the lower Mississippi Delta. About half of the acreage is farmland, creating devastating effects in a region where agriculture is the lifeblood of the economy. While flooding in the region is common, this year's floodwater has hung around longer than ever. We saw a tornado outbreak on March 3rd. This was a significant severe weather event that affected the southeastern United States. Over the course of 6 hours, a total of 41 tornadoes touched down across portions of Alabama, Georgia, Florida, and South Carolina. The strongest of these was an EF4 tornado that devastated rural communities from Beauregard, Alabama through Smith Station, Alabama to Talbot, Georgia, killing 23 people and injuring at least 100 others. Its death toll represented more than twice the number of tornado deaths in the United States in all of 2018. In Colorado, we were breaking records. A central pressure reading of 970.4 millibars in Lamar on March 13th made it the lowest sea level pressure reading ever recorded in the state, bringing Colorado a low in mid-March that became a blizzard that paralyzed travel in parts of the plains, setting new low pressure records, producing damaging winds, triggering record flooding and severe weather. We saw heavy rains and flooding in the Midwest. In Nebraska along the Missouri River, areas closed off by the U.S. Coast Guard extended 70 miles from 50 miles south of Omaha, Nebraska, all the way to St. Joseph, Missouri. The weather system affecting the Midwest from March 12th through the 14th produced a mixture of severe thunderstorms and tornadoes, which was related to Winter Storm Ulmer. Heavy rains mixed with melting snowpack were enough to flood roads, damage buildings, and cause towns along the rising Missouri River to make preparations to shut down power plants, including the Cooper Nuclear Power Plant. In addition, the floodwaters had saturated fields, compromised a levee, forcing 1,200 people to evacuate, and triggered a flash flood emergency when part of the Union Dike in Valley, Nebraska failed on March 15th. A farmer who was carried away on his tractor by the floodwaters lost his life while trying to rescue a stranded motorist. Also in March, we saw an intense tropical cyclone, Idai, which was one of the worst tropical cyclones on record to affect Africa and the southern hemisphere. The long-lived storm caused catastrophic damage in Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Malawi, leaving more than 1,300 people dead and many more missing. Idai is the deadliest tropical storm recorded in the southwest Indian Ocean basin. In the southern hemisphere, which includes Australian, South Pacific, and South Atlantic basins, Idai ranks as the second deadliest tropical cyclone on record. The only system with a higher death toll is the 1973 Florence cyclone that killed 1,650 off the coast of Indonesia. By late April, drought covered only 2% of the area of the lower 48 states. This was the least area of drought in the 19-year history of the weekly drought monitor analysis. In mid-July, when searing heat is usually baking parched ground, the only significant areas of drought in the U.S. were in the Pacific Northwest and in southeast Alaska, areas you typically would think of as wet, not dry. It was one of the weirdest midsummer drought maps we've ever seen. The first 11 months of 2019 was the wettest January through November period on record in the U.S., contributing to the persistent flooding in the nation's heartland. Another tornado outbreak sequence started in May 2019. We saw a prolonged series of destructive tornadoes and tornado outbreaks affecting the U.S. over the course of nearly 2 weeks, producing at least 301 tornadoes, including 50 significant events of an EF2 or greater. 18 of these were EF3 tornadoes spanning over multiple states, including Nebraska, Kansas, Texas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Indiana, Iowa, and Ohio, with additional tornadoes confirmed across the region extending from California to New Jersey. 2 EF4 tornadoes occurred, one in Dayton, Ohio, and the other in Linwood, Kansas. In May, historic flooding impacted the Arkansas River Basin, with damage to homes, agriculture, roads, bridges, and levees focused across Oklahoma and Arkansas. Homes, cars, businesses were all flooded due to high rivers, levee failure, and persistently heavy rainfall from May 20th through mid-July. A week of heavy rain saturated the ground, especially in areas along the Arkansas River. Part of the larger severe weather system was partially the result of an amplified jet stream that promised a particularly hard tornado season in an area already devastated. The final account of damages is compounded by tornadoes descending on the area. Property and homes along the Arkansas River prepared for record-breaking levels that overwhelmed the levees that caused even more damage. Highways were submerged and an untold number of homes have been lost. In August, China experienced a deadly tropical typhoon that killed 72 people. Lakima swept through several provinces, causing severe floods and major damages to roads and bridges. Many people went missing, and a natural dam collapsed. Lakima prompted the Chinese government to issue a red typhoon alert, the highest alert that Beijing issues for such natural disasters. Also in August, Hurricane Dorian. Dorian's legacy as the slowest, strongest hurricane to ever hit the Bahamas. This Category 5 monster went on a slow, torturous rampage across the Bahamas over Labor Day weekend, leaving hundreds dead. With sustained winds of 185 miles per hour, Dorian was the strongest hurricane on record to strike the Bahamas since records began in 1851. Months after Hurricane Dorian, Abaco Island still completely devastated. Almost 4 months after the hurricane flattened and flooded Great Abaco Island, the devastation looks much as it did when the storm swept through. The official death toll stands at 70, but officials have said more than 600 undocumented residents may have drowned and been washed out to sea. Dorian pummeled the islands with the sustained winds of 185 miles per hour, storm surges, and torrential rain in a sustained 2-day assault. According to the U.S. Agency for International Development, 60% of the structures on both islands were severely compromised or completely damaged. In September, Tropical Storm Imelda and its remnants caused 24 to 36 inches of rainfall over a 3-day period across a large area between Houston and Beaumont, Texas. It became the 7th wettest tropical cyclone on record for the U.S. some of the biggest impacts that happened in areas recently devastated by Hurricane Harvey. Also, a historic winter storm in Browning, Montana gifted children with a rare September snow day after a historically early winter storm pounded parts of the West, dumped 4 feet of snow on the town in the break of the Blackfeet Reservation. Barely a week after the end of summer, snow swept across parts of California, Oregon, Washington, Montana, Idaho, Nevada, and Utah. The National Weather Service said temperatures in some areas were dropping as much as 30 degrees below normal. A combination of factors contributed to the wintry blast. A storm in the Pacific Ocean, a fresh injection of cold air from northern Canada, moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, and a northeast descending flow that squeezed extra moisture from the atmosphere produced the amazing snowfall. Montana got the worst of it, and Governor Steve Bullock declared a winter storm emergency. Great Falls, which normally sees less than 2 inches of snow in September, was blasted with a 2-day snow total of 19.3 inches, the second highest 2-day snow total ever for any time of the year. Over to Japan, in October, Typhoon Hagibis killed at least 86 people. Several parts of the country were put under the most severe weather warning when Hagibis made landfall. Hundreds of thousands of people were placed under an evacuation order, while millions more were strongly advised to evacuate. These are just some of the events that I wanted to highlight in this incredible year of 2019 weather. If you like this video, give us a like and share on your favorite social media platform. Thanks for tuning in to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. From our family to yours, have a happy and safe new year. Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform, buy a t-shirt, or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.